Och så ser han massa människor.
Nej men kolla! Gud, han kommer inte gå! Han kommer ner så här. Oj, nu kör han.
Ja, där landar han. Ja!
Oh, this annoys me so much. This was so unnecessary. Luckily, it looks like both pilots were fine. So, what can we learn from this incident? I'm not going to cover everything, but just focus on two aspects of this crash. The first is your cut-off decision height, where you decide, that's it, I'm going to land. The second, keeping the wings level. And we'll go into some details about why that's so important. Okay, let's watch this video, eh? So it starts off with glider getting low, filmed by people on the ground. Now this looks like, he zoomed in here, you can't really tell how high he is, but this might be a suitable altitude to try and find some lift. But he should be very close to his decision point to cut off flying and land safely in a paddock. Looks like he's drifting as well, with looks like there's a bit of wind pushing him one direction. But you can see he zoomed out there and he looks reasonably high, and that looks fine. All these people are watching. Alright, looks like he's still sinking. Coming out behind the trees there. Going in a straight line, probably trying to find some lift still. Alright, now, what he should be doing is lining up for a landing. Okay, he's getting lower and lower. Doing a turn. That should be his turn on to finals. Should be going into land straight away now. But no, he's doing a turn. And look at the sink here. He's descending rapidly, which can happen. Very low level turn there. I don't know why he did that. Okay, now he's decided, got to land it. He's landing, going straight ahead. Oh, wings aren't level. Oh, he's on the ground. And then right at the end here, you can see the wing flick around. So he's done a ground loop. And the damage to the glider is substantial. Looks like the cockpit's okay, so that's great from a survivability point of view. Main thing I notice here, how big the field is. There is absolutely no reason he should have not done a nice landing in that field. And if we step through these photos, see it's that low level turn is just a disaster. Wings not level there right before touchdown. That's never going to go well. And look at the hole he made. Ripped off the gear, snapped off the tail boom in several places. Nose looks fine, front looks fine, that's good. Cockpit looks fine. Canopies look fine. And the wings generally look fine, but you can see the damage to the back of the aircraft. Substantial. Now interestingly, this looks like it's got a engine on it. Tail planes come off. That might have popped off. It's probably got some damage about where it attaches. Wings look okay. No, can't see any damage to the wings. And again, look how big this field is. It's ginormous. Massive field. Nice and clear, nowhere near any trees. This glider's a DG 1000 by the looks of it. I guess the saddest part is this field looks great. There's no excuse at all for them landing like this. So let's focus on two things that went wrong in this landing. One is cut-off decision height, and the second is keeping the wings level. There are lots of other factors around this, or any outlanding, but we're not going to cover them all today. There's a very simple rule, that's to have a cut-off altitude in your mind. Below that altitude, you are no longer trying to find lift. You are switching your brain from trying to escape mode to landing in a field mode. You need to give yourself time to do your checks, put the gear down, get lined up with the runway, do a nice circuit. You need time for a final approach. That gives you time to make sure you account for the wind, get your wings level, lined up, and speed correct, and do a nice landing. So the million-dollar question, what height should that cut-off altitude be where you switch your brain from flying mode to landing mode? For most pilots, I recommend 1,000 feet above the ground. Anywhere below that, you should be focusing on performing and executing a nice landing. If you're an experienced pilot and you've done a lot of outlandings already, and you know you can competently put the glider down precisely, only then would I consider pushing that a little bit, maybe a couple of 100 feet at the most. Most land out videos I see on YouTube, and I've been guilty of this myself as well, are much lower than that. We all have this temptation to try and find that thermal down low, and the lower you get, the harder it gets. In this case, the pilots did this weird 360-degree turn at low level. I'm not sure if it was an attempt at thermaling, or if they realized they were too high on final approach and needed to lose some altitude. Either way, that's a terrible thing to do. Do not do a 360 turn on final approach. If you need to lose altitude because you've misjudged it and you're a bit too high, you should be able to use more air brake. And if that's not enough, do a side slip. And if you're trying to thermal at that low altitude, well, again, just don't. That is a terrible idea. The problem is the thermals are often not a coherent stream at that level. You know, it's pulling lots of bits of heat off the ground. You get the turbulence if there's any wind off trees and buildings. And it's fraught because you've got a 50-50 chance of turning into the lift or turning into the sink. And you can see in this case, they hit the sink and just started descending rapidly. So you just don't have the time to fix it if you get it wrong. Once you've hit your cut-off altitude for landing, there's a number of things you should not let distract you. For example, the radio, your cell phone, your flight computers, the window even, if the window's open or closed. Don't worry about it. Just focus on the landing. If someone tries to call you on the radio, ignore them. You can talk to them once you're on the ground. Let's have a look at another video here. This one's not nearly as bad and certainly didn't result in an accident, but he's doing a very low level turn. And if we back up the video a bit, you can see earlier on there were some nice paddocks straight ahead of him. He could have just landed straight ahead into them, or at least done a little mini circuit around them, and it would have been a lot clearer with less trees than the paddock he ended up choosing. But again, doing low level turns that low, it just means you're not giving yourself enough time for your final approach. You don't have time to get your wings level, you don't have time to get your speed correct, and you don't have time if anything suddenly looks wrong with the paddock that you're about to land in. If you need to land further up or something like that, you don't have time to fix it. You'll be tempted, we all are, to just try that little bit further. And even in my flight from my last video, I had an altitude in mind, 1,000 feet above the ground, where I was going to start the engine. I hit that altitude and I decided to do another 100 feet, and then there was another 50 feet after that before I actually hit a thermal. Now that's an example where I should have actually just stuck to my original plan. I had an altitude in my brain. Why didn't I just decide, right, I've hit my lowest point, I need to start my engine now. And it's even more critical if you've got an engine, because if it fails to start, you then need time to actually land and do a circuit. So another critical thing you need to think about on all your landings, not just outlanding, keeping your wings level. We quite often see this with newer students. They land the aircraft successfully, they're on the ground, doing a ground roll, and then they let a wing go down. They stop flying the plane. Let's have a look at this little video clip. You can see the difference between the gliders that keep their wings perfectly level all the way till they stop, versus this one that lets his wing touch the ground, didn't quite keep it level, and ended up doing a very gentle ground loop. The problem with a ground loop is you can break your tail boom off, and that's what happened in our first video. The wing touches the ground, it creates drag, grabs the wing potentially if there's long grass, swings the glider around, and if your tail is touching the ground or dragging on the ground, when it whips around, it can literally just break the tail off. If you find yourself in this situation, and you can with your particular type of glider, you want to keep your stick forward to get the tail off the ground, so that when it spins around, you're not dragging the tail on the ground, and greatly reduces the chances of snapping it off. But more importantly, just keep your wings level right up till the last moment of movement. Links to all these videos are in the description. Alright, thanks for watching.